Welcome back to another edition of Inside Wyoming Cowboys Athletics here on WyomingAthletics.org and ESP Media powered by Sidearm Sports. My name is Jason Griefer. You know who we're talking to. It's Wyoming assistant AD Jeff King. Jeff, good to be back with you here on the podcast. Let's jump right into it because we got a lot of really good stuff to talk about this week. We finally have seen cross country get going on the season. I know our last episode, it was kind of more of a preview because we hadn't gotten running as of yet, but nevertheless, we've got a couple of meets in the books now. Lakota Easton most recently up at Lebanon, which always puts on a really nice event and a really good opportunity to run up there. We've got dates coming up with Mason and also trip to Cedarville before our next show there. So we've got a couple of runs now in the books. What have the coaches seen from the runners on both sides of things thus far, how they looked early on, and where we think they can progress in the next couple of weeks up in Mason and eventually to Cedarville?
Yeah, I know that they both those were two really good meets with some really good competition, and we like where we're sitting. You know, we have one Nico Raj on the boys' side. He's in the top 10 in the CHL when you look at the times, and Emma Bergman, she's in the top 5, I believe, in the CHL when you look at times of everyone who's ran so far. So we like where they're sitting. We know there's room for improvement, but the coaches those kids are out there working and running, training incredibly hard, knowing that start of the season now, we've gotten things a little bit, going a little bit, and we want to start making some moves towards the top, and we know we have the talent to do so. It just comes down to executing when it gets to those runs, and the two meets that are coming up, as well as through the rest of the season before we get to the leagues and obviously tournament time. It's we have some good things to look forward to.
When you see the runners get started like they did here, is it a situation for this coaching staff in particular where early on in the season we're saying, we want to get off to a good start necessarily? I'm not trying to ask for a PR right out of the get-go from you when you're out on these courses. Let's get our legs going. Let's get used to running against competition again, since we haven't done it in a while.
Yeah, absolutely. Our coaches do such a good job of knowing when they want our athletes to peak and knowing how to kind of taper their training and segment it in ways where we have two meets under our belt now. We know we want to keep climbing the ranks, and we expect them to do so. We like the athletes on that team, and I know how hard they work. So I would expect definitely some Wyoming runners to start making some climbs.
Let's move on to the golf course. And the boys are in the thick of things right now in the league play. And the way things are shaping up, looks like it's going to be a 4-horse race for the league title. You've got, obviously, yourself, Wyoming, Indian Hill, Madeira, and Marymount are all playing well. Everybody's playing well of the 4 thus far. So it seems like at this point, the league's going to come down to one of these 4 teams winning the championship there. You've got a heads-up meeting with Marymount coming up this Wednesday. You've got a heads-up meeting with Indian Hill coming up next Thursday before our next show. We also have some meets with Summit, Taylor, the Hadley Invitationals coming up on the weekend. So it's a busy time for sure. But in particular, with these 2 matches against Marymount and Indian Hill, how important are those going to be as far as getting a look at what to expect for them when we get to our next conversation on the 20th, which will also be, we'll be talking about the league championship, which tees off that morning up at the Mill.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy how fast the golf season goes, and then we're already talking about the league championship. But what's really exciting, I talked to Coach Scott Webb last week. He just loves the excitement of how much competition there is, and he loves it for his athletes. So there's definitely a high level of competition there. We like where we sit. We like what we're doing on the course, but it's good to get, against CHL competition, as well as has some tough out of league competition going into that league championship. So these are really important matches. Every time that we get on the course is an important match, but we like where we sit, and it's fun to have that competition of so many teams up at the top in the league.
We talked and kind of sung the praises of Finley Bartlett a couple of weeks ago and the impact he's made as a freshman. He's still 5th in scoring in the league. So we'll save him, and hopefully we'll talk about maybe an individual title for him in a couple of weeks here. But we also do have a couple of upperclassmen, a couple of seniors that are making things happen as well. Clay Van Fossen is 9th in the league in scoring, and Sam Judge is in the top 25 as well. I'm wondering what that camaraderie has been like between the 2 seniors and Clay and Sam and Finley, the freshman, coming in and just kind of leading the team in scoring anyway from the get-go.
Well, they've been great leaders, and they know what they have in Finley Bartlett and how talented he is. But they're both such talented student athletes as well, and they've really been able to take him under their wing. Of he's never played in high school matches yet up until this year. He's obviously doing a very good job of doing so, but I would definitely attribute that to their camaraderie on that team. They all want everyone to do so well, and they know at the end of the day, it's about the golf team. They know that they're going to have some big individual performances and, hopefully make some noise to come tournament time for individuals, but ultimately it's about the team, and they do such a good job leading that team and providing senior leadership.
You have a lot of senior leadership on the girls side of things. They're just a couple of weeks away from the CHL championships as well. And I'm looking at the leaderboard in the CHL. You have 4 of the top 6 scorers, 6 of the top 10, and like 8 of the top 12. So you have an embarrassment of riches, it seems, as far as depth goes with this girls golf program. Samara Doolin leading the league in scoring. Maddie McMonigal second. Reese Tyndall, who's a sophomore, is fourth. Lily Marty is 6th. She's one of your seniors on there. Caroline Rummers 10th. Maya O'Leary's 11th. Raya Jane is 12th. I mean, I could go on and on. We don't have that kind of time here on the episode here today, but I'm just wondering, in seeing all of these golfers just pouring in all the birdies and the pars and shooting around or under par seemingly every match out, what has been clicking so well from this team since the start of the season? And has there been any kind of indication from either your eyes or the coach's eyes that it's going to slow down?
I would expect it to kind of keep ramping up, and because those girls have taken it ever since, practicing honestly on their own and getting out and playing throughout the summer. Then once team practices started, they're just taking this season so seriously. And same thing as on the boys' side, they know it's about the team. And then, you have Samara up at the top, who saw how successful her sister was last year, Sophia, and she wants to kind of continue that tradition. She's done such a great job being a leader on that team. And Coach Smith has just taken to those girls and making sure that in their preparation, I think it's better than it ever has been. So to see all those girls up at the top of the leaderboard is really something special. And I would expect it to keep ramping up. She's really getting those girls ready to play and hopefully make some noise in the tournament.
Do you get the sense with this team being a lot more senior laden than the boys are, at least as of this juncture, that there is that added, okay, we have one last run together. We need to put it all together now because this is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's, when you look at it like that, it's those girls up at the top for senior leadership. They want to go out on top, but they also want to leave a great legacy for the girls coming up. And that's a big part of it when you leave high school sports, and they're doing a really good job doing that.
Let's move on to the pitch, and let's talk about your girls soccer program. And I kind of gave you some heckle a couple of weeks ago because we saw a trek of 6 straight games on the road, and 7 out of 8, and they're in that stretch right now. But they have passed the first 2 tests, winning at Indian Hill 2-1 to kick off lead play, and then going to Roger Bacon and winning convincingly 4-0. So we're looking good right there. You've got matches on the road again. Once again, Jeff, how dare you, with Reading and then non-conference matchups with Kings and Goshen coming up, and then next week against Deer Park in league play. So you're a couple in, couple out of conference play. So we're looking good thus far. Sophie Crockett has just been a brick wall in the goal at this point. She's given up 1 goal in 5 matches while stopping 30 shots. So she's facing her fair share, but she is just cleaning house back there. What has impressed you about her play so far? And then also we have a particular sophomore on the offensive side of things that I know has been kind of taking the league by storm early in the campaign.
Yeah, I mean, so for on Sophie Crockett's side, I've been impressed by her and her work ethic and how she carries herself as a student athlete ever since I, have been in this role and seen what she's done off the field, but then also on the field. And she's taken to this goalie position to where, I mean, she's fearless. She loves to be out there for her team and to be that support back there in goal. It's been incredible to see what she's been able to do. And then I can only assume you're talking about Allie Mock on the offensive side there. We obviously know how special she is, but she's done such a great job coming back from being a freshman to now a sophomore to also being more of a leader on the team as well and elevating the play of the girls around her. Sophie does that in the goal, and Allie does that on the offensive side. And then our defense led by Vanessa Rosander back there, senior captain, they're just putting it really together. And it was a group that was so much fun to work with in the summer. It's been so much fun to watch them, especially under first-year Coach Rotowski, who's just loving every second of it. But we got to keep it going. And like you said, I know they have a tough schedule being on the road, but Coach was kind of like when she came on board, hey, look, it's great. We're gonna have to play some road games in the tournament, and we better start getting used to it as soon as we can against tough competition. So that's what we're looking forward to for the rest of the season.
Sophie leads the league in saves, as I mentioned. She also, of course, leads the league in shutouts. Hard not to do that when you've only given up one goal thus far in the season. And Allie Mock, 6 goals and 6 assists in 5 matches. She's 5 points clear of the field on the offensive side of things. So needless to say, we're off to a roaring start. Long way to go, though, in the season. But as you said, good preparation on the road there. On the boys' side of things, we're 3-1-1. So things going well thus far. We did drop a tough one at home to Indian Hill to start league play, and then most recently a 1-1 draw against an always strong Alter program. We look at the way things have shaped up here. The last couple of matches in particular, only been able to find the back of the net twice against Indian Hill and Alter after scoring 11 times in the opening 3 matches of the campaign. Are we just seeing just a step up in competition these last 2 matches? Or there may be some other things going on that's slowing this offense down a little bit as we look forward to league matches in the next couple of weeks with Reading and Deer Park?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely has been a step up in competition. That Indian Hill team is a great soccer team. Alter always has a great program. So those 2 really tough games that we were really looking forward to playing, and especially playing them back to back like that. But we've had a lot of shots on goal. We just kind of have to execute a little bit better. And I know Coach has been training those kids to get the goal, to get the ball in the back of the net. They've been working super hard. Tough competition, but that's always good to get up against tough competition. Hopefully we can kind of execute a little bit better on offense tonight against Reading, having another league game. So that's always important. Hopefully bounce back from a loss and a tie. But those were 2 really tough competitive games. At the end of the day, we just love the way that our kids play. They're tough. They're gritty. It's something that Coach Jones has always kind of preached. He wants a really, really gritty team, and that's what we love to see out there on the field. And we're super proud of the way that they're playing.
How much do you think that can take a toll on the team as things go along on the season, that they want to play that tough, gritty, physical side of things? Obviously, I know you work with a lot of them in training and whatnot in between matches, and obviously during the summer leading in there as well. How have they taken to that style? And how do you think that will hold up as the year goes on, assuming they continue to play that physical brand of soccer?
They embrace it, and they know that they got to keep getting better though as well. So it's something where they love, how hard they play, and they love how they play as a team, but they know that they have to start executing a little bit better on the offensive side, start scoring some more goals. But it's not anything new to them where, hey, this is a shock, or, where we can't believe that, we're getting told that we got to score more. They know it. They know that they got to go out and perform better, and they're going to, and we would expect them to. It's just such a great group led by Coach Jones that want, to be super successful, and we're excited for what they can do down the road.
Onto the tennis courts now, and they've spent a lot of time on the road. I know we talked about that in the last episode a couple of weeks back. There's been some construction going on at Wyoming. It's really kind of thrown a hamper into that, so not as many home opportunities as of yet. Still looking for our first win. However, we've only played 4 total matches on the season. There's been a couple of kind of starts and stops, if you will, just the way the schedule broke. So there's been some time in between, but now we're really going to start hitting the meat of the schedule here. And you look at the way things shake out here, and by the time we next talk, they're going to have 9 more matches in the books. I mean, so we're talking back-to-backs, 2 out of 3 days, 3 out of 5 days, so on and so forth. Given the fact that they've had so much time off, and really you could argue haven't really been able to find a rhythm yet because it's been so kind of start and stop, is this the point now, as we get into the start of this grind coming up with CHCA and Goshen, that the coaches start to expect the turnaround, if you will, that we're going to start seeing some more wins with our singles and our doubles because we're getting into the groove of playing on an almost daily basis?
Yeah, I would think so, especially because we've had some obviously matches cancel. Unfortunately, I feel so bad for them. A couple of times literally they've been getting on the bus and then get called saying, hey, this match has been rained out and not been able to go play it. So but what they've done is their attitude has been incredible through all of that, knowing, okay, well, we're not going to be able to have a match because of rain. We're going to find some way to practice then and prepare better for them when we can get back on the courts. And that's what they've done throughout these first few weeks. And we have a tough schedule coming up with a lot of matches to play, but that's what they want. They're going to embrace that. So we're excited. Coach Pendergast has those girls ready to play. And I would expect definitely to have a little bit better results coming through here through the rest of the season.
To that point, with matches being canceled seemingly at the last minute, it kind of sounds like we're harping back to last season with everything that went on with COVID. Obviously, as you said, there's been some instances come up where Mother Nature has been more of a factor than COVID. Thankfully, we haven't really had any stoppages to that point there. Can you look at back on last year and say it's maybe a little bit of a benefit to the team now, knowing that they always kind of have that in the back of their mind, that a match cancellation is always possible, and it doesn't necessarily maybe frustrate them as much because they've had to already go through it?
Yeah, I think that probably helps a little bit. And like I said, they just take it. Their attitude has been so great, even when it's happened. And they've done a great job. Coach has done a great job working with the other coaches of the other teams, getting matches back on the schedule that we missed. With the, knowing that's going to obviously take away some practice time. But because of the way that they've handled it and had such great attitudes and kind of embraced the challenges that they've had, they know that they've prepared very well and gotten practices in when they've had matches canceled. So I think it's definitely helped out. All of our student athletes kind of have that in the back of their head, right? They're still worried about matches being canceled, games being canceled. But last year probably helped prepare a little bit for sure going into this year.
Let's talk about your volleyball team now. And we talked on the preview episode of the season. This was a team that was returning a wealth of talent from a year ago, and a wealth of young talent from a year ago. They're off to a 5-1 start. The lone loss being a 5-setter to Roger Bacon, which could have gone either way, but they came out on top. You do get a 5-set win most recently at Ross, so a good road test there. You're past that one. We look at the way things shake out. By the time you and I next reconvene here, there's going to be 5 out of 6 in the league. And this is going to be kind of be a separating time, if you will, to find out where we are. One of those being Taylor this coming Thursday. They're 2-0 in the league to start things off. But I want to talk about and get your thoughts on a couple of players who've been off to flying starts, and that's Allie Cordes and Sydney Lawrence. Allie leads the CHL in kills, and she's second in blocks, so she's just destroying everything at the net thus far. And then Sydney Lawrence is backing things up on the back end of things, leading the league in digs. She's also pass points. She can also serve it well. She's 4th in aces in the league thus far. And oh, by the way, they're just both juniors, and they got a lot of experience last season as sophomores. So I'm wondering what you have seen and what the coaches have seen from the growth of these two in particular, from the sophomore campaign where they're just kind of following the lead of the upperclassmen to now they're leading the show both on and off the floor.
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely taken leadership roles, only being juniors, but going back to, and we've talked about it a lot with our other sports, all the way back from the summer in preparation and training, they just kind of took a step forward. And that's what you need from a sophomore to a junior. And they've done that, and they've exceeded expectations off the court on their preparation for their play. Both of those girls are just exceptional student athletes who know that they have a team around them that, like we said, brought back a lot of talent. And we know we can have something special with that group. And they've just continued to elevate the play of everyone else around them. Under Coach DeLong, the way that they prepare it's second to none. And they're excited about where they're at. It's going to be a tough stretch in our league to kind of hopefully separate ourselves. But we also have some tough, non-conference games coming up later on down the road too, which we always like to have, especially, getting ready to get into tournament time. But definitely some games we got to take care of before worrying about that in our league play.
You mentioned a couple of times here today about athletes coming in over the summer, and as you said, taking that step forward. You do obviously a lot of athletic training at Wyoming on top of your duties as assistant athletic director. So I'm wondering if you can put on your trainer hat for just a moment and kind of take us inside kind of how we go about the process of these athletes, sort of, as you say, taking that next step and growing as they mature from freshman to sophomore to junior, and so on. How has that process come about, and how has that developed over the summer so that when we get into the start of the season, we can start off strong like Allie and Sydney have?
they do such a good job where, I put them in some tough situations and put them through some pretty hard training sessions. And where it's always, you kind of have a moment where you think this is going to be a tough day, but I know that I can get through it. At the end of the day, when we get through this, we know that down the season, when we could face, adversity in games and matches, and maybe we're down a little bit, or, we have a couple things not go our way, they can work back to those training sessions that they did as a team, knowing that they can lean on each other as a team, going through those tough situations that we put them through in the summer, knowing that, hey, we're prepared to face this adversity. We need to keep coming together as a team. We've done it. We did it in the summer. We've done it in games up until now. We know that we can get past these kind of hurdles, these bumps in the roads that every team finds themselves in. But if the way that they train in the summer is super hard, they know they can get through it. That's kind of what we preach. It's starting to work out really well. And, we're seeing the benefits of it.
How much do you preach that to them during the season when they come to you and say, hey, I want to get some work in? I'm sure it's not going to be as intense as a summer because you don't want to risk injury at this point. But how much are you harping on them saying, if you can get through this, do you remember what we did back in June?
It's a lot of it. I mean, it's a lot of it where throughout the season, we don't want to just kind of, take it easy and maintain. We want to continue to get stronger during the season, during training, putting them through tough training sessions, making them realize that, hey, as long as we keep moving and we keep getting stronger, we're going to be able to get in these tough situations and come out stronger and come out better on the top. So, almost every training session, I'd say there's a little bit of that message that we kind of relay to them.
Lastly, here on the show, as we customarily do here in the fall season, we want to talk about the football program. And since we last talked and we kind of touched on it on the last episode, they have now gotten off to a 3-0 start on the year, I believe, for the 6th straight year. So we're looking good there. And we'll talk about the upcoming schedule here in just a moment, because there's an interesting one coming up this weekend, to say the least, given the opponent and where they are. But I want to go back to this past weekend and ask you how upset Coach Hancock is that you gave up 4 points to Norwood.
I think it's obviously a defensive battle. It's kind of a score that you never really see on the scoreboard is 4. That's for sure. But at the end of the day, it's they come off of kind of a couple of mistakes that we have. But I know that Coach Hancock has those guys ready to play and build off of those. These first 3 games are against really tough opponents that even if you look at the scoreboard, you probably don't see just how tough these games were to kind of pull out wins and overcome some adversity that we faced in all 3 games early on. So it's just building off of what we have. We got to, keep our athletes healthy, keep getting back. We know that we're getting into league play now. We're happy we got through those first 3 games. Giving up 4 points, giving up 6 points. Our defense, they play very sound football, and Coach Seymour, our defense coordinator, does such a good job getting those guys ready to play. And we just got to keep putting up points on the offense side of the board. But we had some help from Matty Mitchell this past weekend, on a pick 6 from our defense to get points on the board too. So all in all, we like where we're at, but it's time for league play, and we know we have a big target on our back.
We'll talk about that first matchup here, but I also do want to make mention that CJ Hester continues to ball out. He's at 545 rushing yards through 3 games. That's some 250 yards clear of the rest of the field in the CHL. Your starting quarterback, Quade Hauer, who we talked about on the last episode, is kind of a madman because he is your quarterback and also starting middle linebacker. He's 4th in the league with 31 tackles and 3rd in the league with 3 sacks. How nuts is he, and how great is it to watch his progression, especially defensively, knowing that he's running the offense too?
He's such a tough kid, and it's so much fun to watch. He's very stoic. It's sometimes it's hard to get a word out of him, but usually if you say something to him, the words that he usually say is yes sir, and he's just ready to do whatever it is that you ask him to do. He's going to want to do it. He never wants to come off the field. He loves being a leader on that team, which he's really starting to take to that role more and more as we go week by week, and it's just he is a fun student athlete to coach. I'll tell you that.
Did you see the start coming from him when you started working with him as he was moving into the sophomore campaign in the summer?
Yeah, I mean, I tell you this, we definitely knew the potential. You watch him play, you know how good and how special he can be. So it's something that we were excited to watch. It's just It's hard when you have a middle linebacker who also plays quarterback. You kind of don't really know what to expect, especially when they're a sophomore. But he's taken to it, and he's hitting it in stride, and we're looking forward to what he can do the rest of this year.
Well, and it helps when you have the best running back in the league to take the pressure off him offensively to where he doesn't have to throw it a whole lot. And you also have one of the best, if not the best, defense in the league as well. That helps out a lot to take some of the stuff off his plate. But let's move on. Let's talk about what we have coming up here in the next couple of weeks. The 17th, we have a road trip to Reading. And so we'll be looking forward to that one on the road there in the league play. But this coming Friday, what a way to kick off league play. You've got your arch rival, Indian Hill, coming to your house to kick things off in league play. But this is not a typical Indian Hill team. They are coming in 0-3 for the first time in 8 years off of a 30-15 loss to Taft, who you played a couple of weeks ago and beat 30-6. So people are wondering, oh boy, what's up with Indian Hill here at this juncture? We've talked and when we've seen with them, they're a little younger, not quite as deep as they have been in years past, but nevertheless, this is still, I'm imagining the coaches are preaching to the players. This is still Wyoming and Indian Hill. I'm imagining Coach Hancock is not letting them even sniff their record and think, oh boy, we've got an easy one here.
No, it's one of those games where I keep telling people, don't even look at the records up to this point. I would throw out their 0-3 record, throw out our 3-0 record, know that this is Wyoming versus Indian Hill, week 1 of the CHL schedule. So it's going to be a battle, and we're preparing for that. We know that no matter who they've played, and even if some of the teams have matched up, we can't look at that. You can learn from some things, obviously, watching film and based off of what we've done and what they've done. And I know that we're doing that in preparation. But at the end of the day, like you said, Indian Hill versus Wyoming, it doesn't get much better than that. It's pretty crazy that it's happening the week 4, first week of the CHL schedule. We know we have a tall task ahead of us, but we're excited for the challenge.
Well, yeah, I was going to bring that up as well. I'm wondering what you thought of that when you saw the schedule come together. And we always think of rivalry games. You want to save that for the very last week of the season. A lot of teams do that, high school, college, and what have you. You can pick your rivalry, and odds are it's going to be played the last week of the season. Here it is in the middle of the season, kicking off league play to start league play. What did you make of that when the schedule came together, that the league is setting it up like this?
For a second, I kind of looked at it and said, that's next year. That's what we're doing. But hey, it is what it is, right? The schedules are set. And I think at the end of the day, it's exciting for the league. Why not kick it off with a big rivalry game? A game that, between two teams that, we've been, blessed enough to be at the top between both of us. But it's kind of a good way to start off the season knowing exactly where we're at, where we've been able to kind of see that for the first 3 out-of-conference games and then get right into the league. Let's find out where we're at and where we stand with the rest of the league really quick. And we're going to do so here Friday night.
And to follow that, we touched on a moment ago, you're going to go to Reading the following week. They're off to a 3-0 start on the season as well. They actually kicked off the season by trouncing Finneytown 47-6. They've only given up 13 points in 3 games thus far on the season there. What have you been able to kind of get a look at Reading to kind of see what they've been doing and what kind of challenge that'll be, especially given that you're going to go to their place coming off of the game against your most bitter rival?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it and, kind of seen what they've been doing throughout the city in these first 3 games. And it's impressive that they've had a really good defensive showing, but then also they're putting some points up on the board. So we know that game going in week 5 is going to be super challenging for us. Reading and Wyoming is also a usually a pretty tough game. Usually it's a pretty tough, tough played game between 2 schools that there's been rivalries between us in the past many, many times throughout different sports. So again, coming off of a tough match against Indian Hill, it's going to be a tough one going to Reading. That's for sure. It's a tough atmosphere to play in.
Lastly, before I let you go in that regard, this is 2 of your more heated rivals, if you will, in the league to start things off in league play. How much do you anticipate players coming to you in the next couple of weeks and saying, hey, can I get a workout in here? Hey, I'm feeling a little cramp up here. Is there something I can do extra to make sure I'm hydrated and ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, we preach that so much that they do a good job of knowing what they need to do, but there'll be student athletes that come and, they want to get an extra stretch in here, some extra mobility work, what have you, or kind of just different advice of maybe foods to eat, what we need to be drinking, just also keeping, their minds right, watching film, preparation. And Coach Hancock and his staff does such a great job of that on the football side of things. But then you look at across all of our sports, all of our head coaches just preach preparation so that we're ready each and every day when we go out to compete.
One more thing just popped in my head now that we're talking about kind of training and also being an assistant athletic director. So you have a lot on your plate here. I promise this will be the last thing, and I will let you go because you're a busy man right now. As we're heading into the second week of September, as we've talked about, some sports already a couple of weeks away from conference championships, others just kind of been kicking up their schedule. For you in working as Jan Wilkins' assistant there in the athletic director office and also doing some training with the student athletes, how busy of a daily grind is it for you trying to get everything in order from a logistical side behind the scenes and then also trying to literally physically help your student athletes get better every day?
So it can be busy, but it's something that, I smile at, and it's something that I enjoy waking up. And you can call it work, but I don't necessarily call it that. I love every second of what we do in preparation, helping out with these student athletes, working with these coaches, working with the staff at the high school. And Jan Wilkins just been the best possible mentor that I could have, moving into this role to help me prep and be prepared for the type of work that it takes to get everything set and in motion. But it's something that, I go to work and wake up every day with a smile on my face, and literally I can't wait for tonight's, soccer game. And I can't wait to hear how our volleyball team does at Deer Park. And, it's something, it might be work, but I smile at it. And it's a great way to be busy because it's definitely a very good busy. I'll say that.
If you love what you're doing, you never work a day in your life is the old adage, Harrison. Apparently, and that seems to be the case from your end there, Jeff. And we can certainly feel that passion coming through each and every time we talk here. Certainly always enjoy our chats and look forward to it again in 2 weeks.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jason.
That is Wyoming Assistant Athletic Director Jeff King joining us once again for Inside Wyoming Cowboys Athletics here on WyomingAthletics.org and ESP Media, powered by Sidearm Sports.